The German officer checks his watch. 60 seconds. He's given the Americans 60 seconds to surrender. The farmhouse is surrounded. 34 Wehrmacht soldiers have their rifles aimed at every window, every door, every crack in the wall. The American inside has no ammunition, no grenades, no way out. The German officer smiles. This will be easy. 47 seconds later, all 34 Germans are dead. The American walks out covered in blood. Not his blood. He's carrying 7 rifles he didn't have before. The German officer is face down in the mud with his own knife in his back. And the American? He hasn't fired a single shot. How is this possible? How does one man kill 34 trained soldiers in 47 seconds with no ammunition? The answer is so brutal, so calculated, so absolutely insane that when the after-action report landed on General Patton's desk, he read it 3 times and said, quote, "Either this man is lying or he's the deadliest thing on 2 legs." To understand this impossible moment, we need to go back 72 hours to a snowy Belgian forest where Sergeant Jack Morrison thought he was going home. December 18th, 1944. The Ardennes Forest, Belgium. Jack Morrison is 23 years old. He's from a tiny town in Montana called Wolf Creek. Population 462. Before the war, Jack worked in his father's butcher shop. This detail matters, because in 48 hours, those butchering skills are going to save his life and end 34 others. Jack has a quirk. He counts everything. Steps to the mess tent. Seconds between artillery shells. The number of times his buddy Eddie says the word dame when he talks about girls back home. Eddie says dame 17 times in every conversation. Jack's counted. It drives Eddie crazy. "You count everything, Morrison," Eddie says while they're digging a foxhole. "You know how many times you've told me that?" Jack replies. Eddie throws a frozen dirt clod at him. Jack has something in his pocket. A letter from his kid sister Margaret. She's 14. She wrote, "Dad says you'll be home for Christmas. I'm making your favorite pie. Apple. Don't be late." The letter arrived 3 weeks ago. Jack has read it 49 times. He's counted. Here's what Jack doesn't know. In 48 hours, he'll be surrounded by 34 Germans in a farmhouse. And that letter will be soaked in someone else's blood. The 106th Infantry Division is supposed to be holding a quiet sector. The Ardennes Forest is where new units go to get broken in easy. Except on December 16th, 1944, Hitler launched his last massive offensive. 200,000 German soldiers, 1,000 tanks. Complete surprise. The Battle of the Bulge has started, and the 106th Infantry is getting absolutely destroyed. Jack's unit is retreating, not running, retreating with purpose. They're supposed to fall back to a rally point near the village of Saint-Vith. But the roads are chaos. German panzers are cutting off American units left and right. By December 18th, Jack's squad of 12 men is down to 4. Him, Eddie, a kid from Brooklyn named Russo, and their staff sergeant, a career soldier named Kowalski. Kowalski makes a decision. "We can't reach Saint-Vith. Germans are everywhere. We need shelter, regroup, figure out where our lines are." He points to a farmhouse half a mile through the trees. "That'll do." Jack counts the steps. 1,214 steps through knee-deep snow. He doesn't know why he's counting. Habit, maybe. Or maybe his brain knows something terrible is coming, and it's trying to focus on anything else. The farmhouse is abandoned. Belgian farmer must have fled when the shooting started. There's a kitchen, a main room, 1 bedroom, and a root cellar. The windows are small. The doors are solid oak. Kowalski nods. Defensible. We hole up here till morning, figure out our next move. They've been in the farmhouse for 20 minutes when Eddie looks out the window and whispers 2 words that change everything. "We're surrounded." Through the windows, Jack counts them. 34 German soldiers. Wehrmacht infantry, not SS. But that doesn't matter much when they've got you surrounded. They're forming a perimeter. Professional. Methodical. They're not rushing. They don't need to. 4 Americans trapped in a farmhouse. The Germans can take their time. Kowalski does an inventory. 3 rifles. 4 handguns. Eddie's got 2 grenades. Total ammunition, 17 rounds for the rifles, maybe 40 rounds for the pistols, against 34 Germans with machine guns and probably mortars. "We're in it now," Kowalski says. His voice is steady. Career soldier. He's been in tight spots before. "We make 'em pay for every inch." Then Russo, the kid from Brooklyn, does something stupid. He panics. He runs for the back door. Maybe he thinks he can slip through the German perimeter. Maybe he's just 19 years old and terrified. Either way, he opens the back door and makes it 3 steps before an MG-42 machine gun cuts him in half. The sound is like ripping canvas. Russo drops in the snow. The Germans don't even bother to check if he's dead. Eddie vomits. Jack counts the seconds it takes. 6 seconds. Then Eddie wipes his mouth and picks up his rifle. Now there are 3. The German officer walks forward. He's holding a white handkerchief, the universal signal for parley. He stops 50 feet from the farmhouse door. He speaks English. His accent is thick but understandable. Americans inside. You are surrounded. You have no chance. I give you 2 minutes to discuss. Then you surrender, or we burn the farmhouse down with you in it. Kowalski looks at Jack and Eddie. We can't win this. Even if we take out 10 of them, they'll overwhelm us. But I'll be damned if I'm spending the rest of the war in a POW camp. He checks his rifle. When they come through that door, we take as many as we can. Eddie nods. He's stopped shaking. For Russo. Jack doesn't say anything. He's counting. 34 Germans. 3 Americans. The math doesn't work. Not with traditional tactics. But Jack's brain is moving in a different direction. He's thinking about his father's butcher shop, about the way you process a hog, about the German perimeter and how they're spread out, about the 60 seconds they've been given. And he's forming a plan so violent, so brutally efficient, that it might actually work. Jack speaks quietly. Sarge, what if we don't fight them? Kowalski looks at him like he's lost his mind. Morrison, they're surrounding us. We don't have a choice. No, Jack says. What if we surrender? Eddie stares. You want to give up. I want them to think we're giving up. Jack's eyes are cold now, calculating. They think we're beaten, scared. They'll get careless. Kowalski's starting to understand. You want to wait until they're close. Closer than close, Jack says. I want them in here, grouped up, confident. It's insane. It's also their only shot. Kowalski makes the call. All right, Morrison. But if this goes sideways, I'm shooting you myself before the Germans get me. Jack almost smiles. Fair. They open the door. They put their weapons on the ground. They raise their hands. The German officer smiles. He was right. This was easy. He gestures to his men. 10 soldiers move forward to secure the prisoners. The rest maintain the perimeter, but they relax slightly. The Americans have surrendered. The threat is over. The 10 Germans enter the farmhouse. This is the moment. Jack counts them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're inside. Cocky. Their rifles are lowered slightly. They think they've won. Jack Morrison drops his hands and moves. What happens next takes 47 seconds. But to understand it, we need to break it down second by second. Because Jack Morrison doesn't just kill 10 Germans in that farmhouse. He sets off a chain reaction that will kill all 34. Second 1. Jack grabs the nearest German's rifle. The soldier is young, maybe 20. His eyes go wide. Jack doesn't shoot. He swings the rifle like a baseball bat. The stock connects with the German's temple. The crack is audible. The soldier drops. Second 2. Kowalski and Eddie react. Kowalski tackles the German to his left. Eddie grabs his hidden knife, a trench knife he kept in his boot. He buries it in the closest soldier's throat. Second 3. Jack has the rifle now, but he still doesn't fire. That would alert the 24 Germans outside. Instead, he drives the bayonet into the second German's chest, pushes him backward into a third soldier. Second 4. The farmhouse erupts into close-quarters chaos. Eddie's wrestling with a German. Kowalski's choking another with his bare hands. But 3 Germans have realized what's happening. They're bringing their weapons up. Second 5. Jack counts them. 3 threats. He does something unexpected. He throws the rifle at the first German's face. The soldier flinches. Half a second. That's all Jack needs. Second 6. Jack crosses the distance. His father taught him how to break down a 200-pound hog in under 4 minutes. A human body has the same weak points, the same joints, the same places where a blade cuts through easy. Jack has his combat knife out. He doesn't slash. He stabs. Precise. The German goes down, clutching his femoral artery. Second 7 through 10. Eddie kills his German. Kowalski snaps another's neck. Jack is moving through the farmhouse like something mechanical, not human. Each movement is efficient, necessary. Nothing wasted. 2 more Germans down. Jack is 66 years old now. He's quiet for a long time. Then he says, "I don't count anymore. I stopped counting the day I got home, because I knew if I kept counting, I'd count the faces, and I didn't want to remember their faces." The historian asks if he regrets it. Killing 34 men. Jack's answer is immediate. No. They would have killed me. Killed Eddie. Killed Kowalski. You do what you have to do to survive. I did what I had to do. Jack Morrison dies in 2003. He's 82 years old. Heart attack. Quick and painless. At his funeral, there are veterans from 3 different wars. Men he never served with, but who heard the story of the farmhouse. The story of the sergeant who killed 34 Germans in 47 seconds. His grave marker in Wolf Creek, Montana, says, Jack Morrison, Sergeant, U.S. Army, 1921 to 2003. He counted every one. The farmhouse still stands. It's in Belgium. The Belgian government has marked it as a historical site. There's a small plaque outside that reads, December 18th, 1944. Site of action by U.S. forces, 34 German soldiers killed. It doesn't mention Jack Morrison by name. It doesn't mention the 47 seconds. It doesn't mention how one man with nothing but his wits and his training turned an impossible situation into one of the most one-sided engagements of World War II. But the Germans remember. Wehrmacht veterans who fought in the Ardennes have a saying, never give the Americans time to think. They're thinking of Jack Morrison when they say it. The butcher's son from Montana who counted 34 Germans into their graves. The letter from Jack's sister Margaret. The one about coming home for Christmas. He kept it his entire life. It was in his pocket when he died. Still stained. Still folded. After 58 years, he never threw it away. He missed Christmas 1944. The apple pie got cold. But he made it home. And maybe that's the real story. Not the 47 seconds. Not the 34 dead Germans. But the fact that Jack Morrison, against impossible odds, made it home to Wolf Creek, Montana. He counted every step of the way. But here's the detail that doesn't get mentioned in the history books. The detail that only came out years later when German records were finally examined. That German officer. The one who gave Jack 60 seconds to surrender. His name was Hauptmann Friedrich Weber. He was a veteran of the Eastern Front. He'd fought at Stalingrad. He'd survived the Russian winter. He was considered one of the most capable officers in his regiment. And he made one fatal mistake. He assumed 3 Americans with no ammunition and no hope were beaten. He assumed wrong. The last entry in Hauptmann Weber's diary, recovered from his body, was dated December 17, 1944, one day before the farmhouse. He wrote, "Tomorrow we will capture several American stragglers. The men are confident. This will be easy." It wasn't. This is the story of Jack Morrison, the man who was given 60 seconds to surrender and used 47 seconds to kill 34 Germans. The man who counted everything except the cost. And maybe the craziest part. This wasn't even the most incredible American survival story from the Battle of the Bulge. In 3 days, we'll tell you about the medic who saved 47 wounded soldiers while surrounded for 6 days with no ammunition, no food, and no hope of rescue. He wasn't supposed to survive. None of them were. But that's a story for next time. Remember Jack Morrison. Remember what happens when you underestimate an American with his back against the wall and 47 seconds to make a decision. The Germans learned that lesson in a farmhouse in Belgium on December 18, 1944. They never forgot it. Second 11. This is when the Germans outside realize something is wrong. The sounds from inside the farmhouse. The lack of gunfire, but the obvious sounds of a struggle. The German officer shouts orders. "Inside! Go!" Second 12. Jack looks at Kowalski. They both know. 14 more Germans are about to come through that door. They can't kill them all hand to hand. They need a different strategy. Jack grabs 2 of the German rifles. He positions himself beside the door. Kowalski takes the window. Eddie grabs the grenades. This is it. Second 13 through 20. The Germans rush the door. They expect to help their comrades subdue 3 Americans. Instead, they run into an ambush. Jack fires. Point blank. Inside a confined space, you don't need to aim carefully. The first 2 Germans through the door drop. The ones behind them stumble over the bodies. Eddie throws a grenade, not outside, into the doorway. Right at the Germans trying to push in. Second 21. The grenade explodes. The concussion in the enclosed farmhouse is massive. Jack's ears are ringing. 4 more Germans are down. Body parts everywhere. The doorway is blocked with corpses. Second 22 through 30. But there are still Germans outside. And they're angry now. Organized. The officer is screaming orders. They're going to use their machine gun to suppress the windows while more soldiers flank around back. Jack counts. 20 Germans left. Maybe less. But they're coordinating now. This is when most soldiers would hunker down. Try to hold out, hope for rescue. Jack Morrison does the opposite. He goes outside. The Germans are focused on the front of the farmhouse. Machine gun team setting up. Soldiers stacking to rush the door again. They don't expect an American to come out the side window. Jack comes out low and fast. There's a German standing 6 feet away. Back turned, watching the front door. Jack is on him before he can turn around. Knife between the ribs, up into the heart. The German makes a sound like air leaving a tire. Jack lowers him to the ground quietly. Second 31 through 35. Jack is behind the German perimeter now. He's got a German uniform coat from one of the bodies inside. In the chaos and smoke, the Germans don't immediately realize he's not one of them. 5 seconds. That's how long he has. He uses them. There's the MG-42 machine gun team, 2 Germans, the gunner and the assistant feeding the belt. Jack shoots them both, uses a German rifle. The other soldiers think it's friendly fire at first. Confusion. Half a second of hesitation. Half a second is all Jack needs. Second 36 through 40. Jack grabs the MG-42. It's still loaded, still hot. He swings it around and opens fire on the Germans stacked at the front door. They're exposed, grouped up. The MG-42 fires 1,200 rounds per minute. In 4 seconds, Jack puts 50 rounds into the German assault team. The math is brutal. 15 Germans are cut down before they understand what's happening. Second 41. 5 Germans left, plus the officer. They're scattering, running for cover. But there's no cover. Open field. Deep snow. They're slow. Second 42 through 45. Kowalski and Eddie come out of the farmhouse. They've got rifles. The remaining Germans are trying to surrender now, hands up, screaming. But Eddie saw what happened to Russo. He doesn't stop firing. Kowalski neither. 3 more Germans drop. Second 46. 2 Germans left. 1 is wounded, crawling through the snow. The other is the officer. He's reaching for his pistol. He's going to go down fighting. Jack respects that. But respect doesn't stop bullets. Jack shoots the wounded German first. Mercy shot. Then he walks toward the officer. Second 47. The officer gets his pistol up. He fires. The round goes wide. He's shaking. Not from fear. From shock. How did this happen? How did 3 Americans kill 34 of his men? Jack doesn't give him time to figure it out. He fires. The officer drops, face down in the mud. Silence. Just the wind, the snow, the ringing in Jack's ears. Eddie is bent over, hands on his knees, breathing hard. Kowalski is checking the bodies, making sure no one's playing dead. Jack counts them, 34 bodies. He counts them twice to be sure. 34. The whole thing took 47 seconds, from the moment the first German entered the farmhouse to the moment the last one died. Jack counted every one. They can't stay. More Germans could arrive any moment. They strip the bodies of anything useful. Ammunition, grenades, food. Jack takes the officer's sidearm, a Luger. His sister Margaret would probably think it was a neat souvenir. Then Jack sees something that makes him freeze. The German officer has a letter in his pocket. Jack shouldn't read it. He does anyway. It's from the officer's wife. She's asking when he'll be home. She says their daughter misses him. She's 7 years old. Jack puts the letter back. He doesn't tell Eddie or Kowalski about it. They move through the forest for 2 days. On December 20th, they stumble into American lines. A patrol from the 82nd Airborne. The paratroopers don't believe their story until they see the 34 Lugers and rifles Jack's team is carrying. The after-action report is filed on December 22nd. Kowalski writes it. He includes every detail. The surrender. The ambush. The 47 seconds. The 34 dead Germans. The lieutenant who reads it thinks it's bullshit, exaggeration. He sends it up the chain anyway. It lands on General George S. Patton's desk on December 24th. Christmas Eve. Patton reads it 3 times. Then he makes a phone call. I want to meet this Morrison character. Jack Morrison meets General Patton on December 26th. Patton looks him up and down. Montana farm boy. Butcher's son. Doesn't look like a killing machine. Patton asks one question. How'd you do it? Jack answers. I counted, sir. Patton stares at him. Then he laughs. Well, son, you counted 34 Germans right into their graves. He pins the Distinguished Service Cross on Jack's chest. Try not to make a habit of this. But here's the thing. Jack Morrison does make a habit of it. Between December 1944 and May 1945, Jack racks up 63 confirmed kills. He becomes a nightmare for German troops. They start calling him Der Zähler, the counter. Because prisoners report that the American sergeant counts everything, counts the Germans, counts the seconds, counts the bullets. By the time the war ends in May 1945, Jack Morrison has been wounded twice, earned 2 Bronze Stars, a Silver Star, and the Distinguished Service Cross. His unit suffers 30% casualties, but under Jack's leadership, they never lose another man to a surrender situation. Eddie makes it home. He becomes a cop in Detroit. He names his son Jackson Morrison Johnson, after the man who saved his life. Kowalski retires from the army in 1962 as a colonel. He spends the rest of his life telling people that Jack Morrison was the toughest soldier he ever served with. And Jack goes home to Wolf Creek, Montana. He takes over his father's butcher shop. He marries a local girl named Sarah. They have 3 kids. He never talks about the war, not to his wife, not to his kids, not to anyone. In 1987, a historian researching the Battle of the Bulge tracks Jack down, asks him about the farmhouse, about the 47 seconds, about the 34 Germans